Anthony Mackie has a 1 minute and 45-second response here where he talks about, I guess, like masculinity. And this person said, it feels so real to finally be being given a reason to hate him. Pivot podcast. For the past 20 years, we've been living through the death of the American male. They've killed masculinity in our communities. At Anthony Mackie, right? Star actor Anthony Mackie has soared to the highest levels of Hollywood, but one thing he really doesn't play about is raising his boys to be young men. He talks to, okay, when I saw Official Crowder, I was like, Steven Crowder, what the hell? He talks to these people about how he keeps them humble. He brings them up with respect and responsibility, but strays from society's trend of what they are trying to make young men think and feel, right? So let's hear what he had to say and whether he worded this or weirdly or not. And we'll see if he was clipped out of context.
I keep my boys humble. Like, my boys have never had a pair of Jordans. You know, my boys don't do all that internet fly shit. I'm like your kids.
None of this is controversial so far. He's literally just saying that he doesn't like the flashy, he doesn't like the flex culture that he sees, especially for younger generations online. I agree with that 100%. Let's see.
And no, I don't give a. I could be the biggest star in the world. Do not let me catch you being stupid. Mm-hmm. Do not. And my oldest gets it. My 15-year-old, he tells the other ones, he's like, yo, don't make dad mad. Because once you get one that's right, he gonna straighten the other ones out. Mm-hmm. So it's just that thing of, in the past 20 years.
This is such a funny, this is like the most old head podcast, by the way. It's like, I don't know anything about this podcast, but it's like, as soon as it panned over to the host, I'm like, oh, this is amazing.
We've been living through the death of the American male. They have literally killed masculinity in our homes and our communities, for one reason or another. But I raised my boys to be young men. And however you feel about that, you feel about that. Right. But my boys will always be respectful. They will always say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. No, sir, no, ma'am. They will always say thank you. They will always open a door for a lady. They will always make sure that their mother is taken care and provided for. They will always be men. And that's always since they were 2 years old. Every time I left for a job, I tell my 15-year-old, you're the man of the house. You make sure these doors are locked every night. This alarm is on. You text me or you call me every night before you go to bed and you wake up.
I love that.
Because we're men. If I'm not there to protect, he got to be there to protect. Because you can have all the money in the world, climb through the window, that money means nothing. Right. You can have all the celebrity in the world, jump through the door, that celebrity means nothing. Yeah. So you got to have a little guard in there, you know? And so for me, it's always that idea of American masculinity is very different.
Hold up. Limitless.
Okay, so it comes across as like kind of right-wing, right? And apparently the context of this, like it's not that controversial, like what he's saying, but immediately, like if you are tuned in to that frequency, if you know what like right-wing commentary and right-wing statements look like, yeah, it's understandable that people will go, oh, he's talking about like male bravado, like the pussification of like American men, like, because when you make a statement, there are a lot of things that you're not saying that you're operating off of, like underlying premises that you're operating off of. And that leaves a lot of room for interpretation for people. And if people are conditioned into recognizing right-wing sentiment, they hear this and they go, oh, this guy's a fucking real right-winger. Like, what do you mean? He's doing the classic, like, oh, kids are gay now. Now, what is ironic about this was that what he was actually talking about, apparently, because I saw someone else show the full context of the conversation, was literally about unlearning homophobia because he has a gay brother, and he also personally played the role of a gay man. Like, so he's not like the conversation. Yeah, this is the thing I saw. Yeah, if you bother to watch the whole interview, you'd hear Anthony explain how he stepped out of his comfort zone to play the role of a gay man early in his career to understand his gay brother better and not repeat the same homophobic attitudes he grew up in the South. Like, it's just what's interesting about it is like this happens in every medium. This is just like a cultural thing that we all love to do. We hate when our enemies do it or our perceived ideological interlocutors do it. And then we love doing it ourselves. And sometimes We earnestly get duped by this stuff. We earnestly get duped by this stuff. We get clip chimped. It's basically the equivalent of not just clip chimping, but like simply in the old version of it, reading the headline of a news article and not reading the rest of the article and not realizing that like the headline of the article actually left a lot of stuff out, right? It's like if you only look at New York Times headlines, especially on an issue like Israel, and not like the rest of the articles where they bury the lead pretty far down the article, you're like, oh, Israel has not done anything wrong. They're the most moral nation on the planet. Sometimes they mess up a little bit, but overall they're trying their best, right? And it's like, that's how it works, right?
Yeah, so if you guys remember
and then there's obviously the other side of this where you got Captain America, they've killed masculinity. Like, there's battle lines are instantly drawn and people jump to this. People jump to their opinions. And then these wars are fought, right? Here, let's hear what he had to say.
South in the 90s.
He starts the other clip with saying he doesn't like the money spread 999 Rolex, 1,200,000 or 1,200 haircut individuals. Yeah. For the record, he's a black man on a black podcast talking about his own community and his own interpretation of what he is seeing amongst the youth. Something that I have also talked about as well. Something that I also fucking get annoyed by in general by American culture is like American consumerism and flex culture has like completely gotten to a new level at this point where people are just like, they substitute having fucking expensive watches or expensive things and living a lavish lifestyle as a mechanism to say like, I'm a good person. Look at how successful I am, right? It's annoying. And before there's like immediately people going Gucci shirt. Like, I know you're joking when you say this, obviously, but like, there's never been a moment where I have been like, look at what I got, bitch. Like, I'm the man. I fucking made it. It's usually people, because I'm a leftist, people constantly throwing it back in my face. There's a difference between someone flexing and versus, someone purchasing a stupid shirt in a moment of emotional weakness at Coachella multiple years ago. You do that every stream? What do you mean? Yeah, I do. I do my money spread. So that's it. It's like it's very frustrating, right? I think it's a perfectly valid thing to get upset about because I think it's a sign of it's a telltale sign of insecurity in general, right? You flex your biceps on us. Okay, that's a great example. Okay, that's a great example because I think, jokes or not, I'm very proud of the amount of work I've put in to my own body. I'm very proud of my own accomplishments, and I want other people to also take the lesson. And that's why I talk about my workouts, talk about my diet, talk about fitness in general, because I want to hopefully influence people positively and get them also to do the same thing. But even then, flexing your fucking biceps is like, well, yeah, you worked on it. You know what I mean? I totally think that showcasing your prowess, your art or showing your body in that regard, I think is infinitely more acceptable than just being like, look how fucking rich I am. Because while a lot of people have worked hard for it in terms of wealth, I think you never really know. And also luck plays a major factor in this. But yeah, I feel like he's talking about the Andrew Tate type. Yes, that's what he's talking about. Exactly. There is a real annoying culture, especially among the youth, that looks to guys like Andrew Tate and doesn't recognize the insecurity that these guys have, because if they were secure with themselves, they wouldn't constantly be talking about their Bugatti Veyron, right? Only insecure people do that.
In the 80s, you grow up homophobic, sexist, and racist. We talking about the 80s and the 90s. That's just a fact. You know what I mean? So when I got to school, my roommate was gay. I didn't know how to deal with that. My brother's gay. I didn't know how to deal with that. So being a man, I used my art to better myself. I played Perry so that I could understand my brother better, so I could understand my friends better. Going to art school, a bunch of my friends were gay. You know what I mean? Like when I was a kid, we had a record label, we had the first gay rapper. Nobody gave, you make good music, nobody care. You know, Big Frida is famous.
Here for sure.
Like you think this guy's like a right-wing reactionary? I don't think so. Especially like a lot of people rob others of their social development, their world experiences. They never look to like how a person got to the position that they got to, right? Like that's really interesting. That so many people will be like, well, I grew up sheltered, you know, I grew up in New York to like woke ass parents, and I expect everyone to arrive at my worldview and my position instantly, out of the womb. And it's like, of course, that's not going to be the case. You have to look at these things. You have to be. That's why I always say, be normal, be a human. The reason why I try to educate people on this process all the fucking time is because, unfortunately, with the way that our information environment works now, with no third spaces, no sense of community, no like going out and being around other human beings, and constantly being in a social situation where you are forced to interact with other humans on a regular basis, we spend most of our time socializing online. So a lot of the nuances that you normally would use to filter certain pieces of information, for example, are just gone, right? It's the difference between watching someone talk or watching a video of someone versus reading their quotes on paper. It's an entirely different format, and the outcome and what your takeaway will be entirely different. And the same goes for the difference between watching someone on a podcast for a minute and 30 seconds versus seeing them in the wild, you know, interacting with them in the wild. Not saying that like you're going to meet every single person, right? You're probably not going to encounter, what's his face, Anthony Mackie in the wild and get a full understanding of what his worldview is. But when I say be normal, what I mean is try to understand how a person that's in front of you that has this worldview, how do they get there? Okay? How do they arrive at these conclusions? I think it's very important to understand that.
For sure. You know what I mean? So the idea of being gay in New Orleans has always not only been supported, but it's been a part of the culture. Mm-hmm. But with me, I needed to figure out what was my holdup, what was my insecurity about that. And once I played that role, I realized everybody deserves to be loved. It's not my job to say who you love or who should love you. If you loved, I'm happy for you. That don't mean I'm gay. You know, so Perry was more so a statement piece for me with the love and admiration for my brother, with the appreciation and respect of my friends, for that culture. It really put me in a position where I think it made me a better actor because I had to go so far out the box. I had to go to the furthest spectrum.
Yeah, dude is woke as fuck. Lamont people fell for the clip chimp. Damn. But even the clip chimp itself, I think it's massaged in a way. Like this podcast in and of itself wasn't even trying to make him look bad. This is they probably have an opinion that is a little bit more conservative, right? Socially on that front. And instantly people jump to this and make up their own minds about what they think is happening. I watched this thinking he about to say some wild red pill crazy shit or something. Bro even played a gay role in support of his gay brother. Nah, y'all internet motherfuckers is not real. It was a real figment of my imagination. The fact that this tweet got 100K likes is all bots. It's got to be. You motherfuckers don't exist in real life. Y'all despawn when the internet turn off, said your rage. And yeah, I think the reason why I talked about this is because like it happens all the time. This kind of stuff happens all the time. And even I fall for it. Because when I saw this tweet and I just read this, okay, and I read this right here, and I saw the tweet, I thought, oh, wow, okay, so maybe Anthony Mackie's like a bit reactionary because that's how it's presented. But in fact, the only thing he was talking about is like positive masculinity and teaching his kids to be like good men, teaching his male children not to be like not to fall into the Andrew Tate trap, you know? Like that's it. And I think that we just gotta be a little bit more, we gotta be a little bit more gracious and a little bit more forgiving, even if people who engage in somewhat reactionary commentary, right? Because I mean, this is why I always try to preach some semblance of tolerance and grace to those who who might even in context come across as intolerant, with the understanding that they are all, at the end of the day, a product of their social conditioning, a product of their material realities. Leftists who understand that America is this like hateful nation, leftists who understand that like there's so much systemic discrimination, oftentimes forget what the impact of said systemic discrimination will look like in the collective consciousness of those who don't really think about this stuff deeply and have never really entertained a counterexample, and just kind of simply are responding to all the things that they see, all the things that they take for granted. That's it. But yeah, same goes for every single person. Every single person will eventually find themselves in the throes of being misunderstood. It is what it is. And the reason why I use the Anthony Mackie example is because I personally saw that. And I initially thought, oh, what the hell? Like, is this guy like weirdly right wing or whatever? Because I hadn't even watched the clip. Okay. And then I investigated a little bit further. I was lucky enough to be able to encounter someone else who had investigated a little bit further. And that completely changed my mind on it, right? That's it. And I think that's a good that's a good teachable moment, right? For everyone. No room for intellectual elitism while we're all trying to live in solidarity. Yeah, I mean, there is a balance to everything. And I think that balance also should factor in, for example, like not treating people like they're idiots either. Like I'm an advocate for not doing like dense theory, and I think everyone plays a different role. My role is to do agitative propaganda, of course, and to help Americans understand their class position and who the real, like what the real vectors of harm are in our current hierarchy, right? That's my goal. That's my role. But that doesn't mean that like I have this attitude that like the average American, the average working class person is too stupid and too dumb to understand theory either. So there's a balance there as well. But yeah, it's important to recognize that he was clipped out of context last month when he explained what it means to be Captain America, but that time he pissed off the MAGA crowd. Yeah. And now the MAGA crowd is going to make propaganda off of this, right? Like they've killed masculinity. Captain America sounds alarm.
Anthony Mackie, despite his rising stardom with Captain America Brave New World, prioritizes parenting above all else. In a recent interview, he shared his approach to raising his 4 sons, emphasizing humility, discipline, and traditional values. He avoids spoiling them with luxuries and instills a sense of responsibility, especially in his eldest son. Mackie believes masculinity is being diminished in society and is committed to raising his boys as strong, respectful men. He teaches them gratitude, respect for women, and household responsibilities. For Mackie, fame and wealth mean little if he is not present to protect and guide his family. The actor debuted on the big screen in 2002's 8 Mile and has since starred in numerous films, including as Sam Wilson, aka Falcon, in the MCU before he was named the new Captain America. If you found this video interesting, then make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel for more videos like this. And thanks for watching.